Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Chocolate News Podcast. I am your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your co-host, Andria Carter.
And if you did not know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
It's going fine, John. It's a little dreary out, but it's a good week. It's not bitterly cold, but it's not bitterly hot either. So, it's in that warm, cold, sweet spot this week.
Yeah, as long as it's not
So,
snowing, that's fine with me.
yeah, after with all that rain that we got, and everyone's like, "Oh, this rain is horrible." I said, "Yes, but it's not snow." Because think of New York or think of
Oh,
Chicago or Detroit or up
oh
further north.
God.
Just think of Cleveland, you
Oh
know.
God.
Thank God we're not we live near a river, but we're not near a huge lake that has cause effect snow. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but overall it's been a good week. I think we're starting to see some interesting things happen in Cincinnati, some terrible things happen in Cincinnati. But I think there's a new attitude with people, wanting to see progress. People are happy, some sad, but I think it's winter, and I can't believe it's going to be February soon, and that means Black History Month,
Yay.
and then
Yay.
that also means almost Lent's almost here, so it's interesting. So
Now, today we actually have some special guests with us. We have Mr. Marvin Butts with us. He is a small business owner and he is a Cincinnati advocate. How you doing today, sir?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Doing great. And we also have his assistant with us and the president of the Butts Family Foundation, Tabitha Anderson. How you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing just great. Now, before we move on to our special guests, we have some chocolate news to discuss. So, Andrea, what is the chocolate news of the week?
it's been an interesting, like I said, I always say this every week, that it's an interesting week for news. And I like to try to find some interesting tidbits that everyone doesn't get to see on the regular news. But one thing I wanted to point out, because it is the day before Black History Month begins, I wanted to point out to everyone at the Taft Museum, they are going to have a new exhibit starting February 10th through May 19th. It's called African Modernism in America. And it's going to feature 80 dynamic works created in Africa during the 1950s and 60s. It is co-organized by the American Federation of Arts and Fisk University Galleries. And it's going to talk about the relationship between African artists and their American patrons, artists, and cultural organizations, and how what the art portrays during those turbulent times of civil rights movement, decolonization, the Cold War, and how they thought about that. Fisk University always has a wonderful art collection. So I'm very, very excited to see what we're going to see in this exhibit. So, that being said, another person making history. If you ever been to Walt Disney World, you never know who's behind all of the animatronics or the different things that you see to enjoy at Disney World and all its different aspects of the park. Well, Lanny Smoot is a Black man who has worked for Disney for over 30 years.
Wow.
And he is about to be inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. He owns a number of patents, and he is being inducted to the Inventors Hall of Fame for one of his inventions, which is the lightsaber. You know how we saw the lightsaber in Star Wars?
Yes.
Well, he saw what they did for Star Wars, and he took it a step further, and he actually invented the lightsaber that they use in their park exhibit display at all the Disney parks.
That is so
And
cool.
it is so cool. And I think he just retired from Disney. But what is interesting is that there's only one other Disney employee that has been entered into the Invention Hall of Fame, just like Lanny Smoot. Guess who that is?
Let me guess. I think it is The man, the myth, the legend himself, Walt Disney.
Yes. He is the only other Disney employee to be entered into the Inventors Hall of Fame. So he's making history. He will be inducted during a ceremony May 9th in DC. He is part of the class of 2024. So I'm sure there's a lot more, but he has been responsible for, just letting his imagination fly and benefited Disney. He holds over more of 100 patents. His work is in theatrical technology. And he's invented he's an electrical engineer, a scientist, a researcher, and he's just done all of this. So congratulations. And I look forward to seeing what else he's going to invent now
Yeah.
for the world to enjoy. So there's that. Congratulations.
Real quick though, because as soon as you told me that, I looked him up and the video that he's in, and check this out, folks, because it's really cool. It's it's like Disney, the hollow tile floor. It's a really cool thing that Walt Disney Imagineering is working on. So definitely check that out because he's actually in the video showing it off. So just real quick, just wanted to tell people about that.
Oh wow. Well, I mean that is, you know what, when you grow up and you achieve and you let your imagination fly, you never know what you're going to invent. So
Yep.
I'm fantastic. Congratulations. The next piece of along the lines of entertainment, and Byron Allen, he's making waves, lawsuits, buying up things, just he is just growing his media empire. So he has made a pitch to buy Paramount Global for $30 billion.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I said. That is, think about, I don't think everyone realized the Allen Media Group, actually what he owns. I mean, he owns TV station, he owns the Weather Channel. He has the website HBCU Go. He owns the Griot in that channel. And he has a lot. He did make a pitch for BET, and then that wasn't sold. And so I think there was a rumor about ABC, but that didn't come true. But this is, he really wants to get into the mainstream, and he has some strategic partners to purchase all of the outstanding shares for Paramount Global. Woo, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. And I was reading a little bit more about this, and someone was telling me they're trying to break it down to me. I don't still don't get all of it, but the part I did get was basically he's not going to sell it for just $30 billion in cash. It's going to be basically he's doing it for he's going to give $14 billion cash for the company, and he's paying like a 50% premium on the stocks right now. So that means that basically he's offering the shareholders 50% more than what the stocks are worth right now. And then he's going to take on the 15 billion in debt that Paramount has right now. So he's making a very, very generous offer.
That Paramount's $15 billion in debt. He's taking
Yeah,
on that debt.
yeah,
Oh my God,
I
that's.
know.
But I mean, if you own Paramount stock right now, it's trading at $21.53 a share, and he's offering $28.58 a share. Now I wish I had the stock. Oh my God.
But
That that's if they want to sell,
yeah, that's what they well, and I'm trying to remember who owns Sherry Redstone. She basically owns the company right now, and she's looking to sell. So, and there have been people like I can't remember who owns Skydance Productions, but anyway, whoever's in charge of Skydance wants to buy it. I heard Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav is CEO of that company, wants to buy it. So I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but I kind of wish it will happen because it would be nice to have like a black man at the seat of power.
well, yeah, I mean, we already have a black woman per se,
Yeah, but it'd be
but
nice if a black person owned like a major media conglomerate.
mhm. It would, and I mean that he just outright offered money for everything. And Skydance, they're trying to make a play for national amusements,
Mm,
which is quote considered the Trojan horse into owning Paramount Global. So and or they may break it up. And you have to admit, Sherry Redstone is not her dad
yeah,
because her father ran the whole thing.
yeah,
And I don't think Sherry has she may have she ran it with her father, but
right.
running it by herself, it's a huge amount. And she probably is like, I don't know if I'm going to do this or not. She might just want to go live her life and play with her millions a different way. I should say billions in a different way.
I don't blame her.
Um,
I'd be the same. I'll take the money and run.
yeah, I mean, she is a good businesswoman in her own right, but I don't think she wants to play on the global stage that this would be. So I mean it's an interesting take to see what happens. And is Byron ready to run a global company? you know
Yeah.
it's interesting, but then again, he's been around a long time. He's been slowly building up his media company. He just didn't show up overnight. He's been slowly, steadily doing this. He knows how to run things on the cheap and do good product and make money. That's how he built his company. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does the digital, if he does get this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So now it's kind of sad, but you heard about the drone attack that
Yeah.
killed the three soldiers who were asleep, and there was some confusion about what drone was coming at the base in that's located in Jordan near the Syrian border.
Mm-hmm.
And so the three black soldiers that were killed, if you do not know their names, they are Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, he was 46, of Carlton, Georgia; Special Kennedy Layton Sanders, 24, of Waycross, Georgia; and Special Breonna Alexandria Moffett, 23, of Savannah, Georgia. And they were killed in this drone attack. There was some confusion because a U.S. drone was returning at base when this drone came in and attacked the base. Now, the reason why there was not much fighting over this is because our soldiers were asleep at the time of the attack, which I think is very cowardly to do this strike while people are asleep. But anyway, everybody wants to make a point in a different way.
Yeah.
They were also reservists. They were part of the 926 Engineer Brigade based at Fort Moore in Georgia. So it's kind of sad of what happened. But the reason why I bring this up is they're coming home. The bodies are coming home on Friday. And the transfer is going to happen at the Dover Air Force Base near DC. Today, the parents of, I believe it was Specialist Kennedy Lanny Sanders, her parents received a phone call from President Biden today. And basically, the Land of Constitution filmed the conversation, and they had Biden on speaker. He was wonderful with the parents. He told them that this is not an easy phone call to receive. He understood what they were feeling because he's had a son die in Iraq. He's had that phone call when his wife and child died in the car crash. And also he understands loss because, he lost his son to cancer. And he said that number one, they are posthumously promoting, I believe, Specialist Sanders to sergeant, and that will happen at Dover. And he also asked for permission to be with them on Friday when the transfer occurs. And the parents were just like, yes, yes, sir, please come. And then the mother piped up and said, sir, whatever you decide to do, we are behind you and we stand with you. And it was a wonderful conversation. The mother and father broke down in the middle of it when Biden told them that he understood what was happening. He understood what they were going through. And he said, you lost your child in over there. I lost my son in the Iraq war. And when the mother heard Biden say, I lost my son in the Iraq war, the mother and the father, broke down and cried. Literally
Mm.
just crying. Biden was continuing to talk because he couldn't see what was happening, but the mother was just crying as he was speaking. And then she pulled herself together. But it was a wonderful conversation. So I would say everyone watch live news on Friday, whether it's regular TV or CNN, MSNBC, or any of the news stations around the world. You're going to see Biden stand with the families on Friday as their loved ones return to America. So it's going to be a very emotional day on Friday for these families. So I wanted to let you know about that. They're still trying to decide what he's going to do. And we may end up going to war with Iraq, though no one wants to go to war with Iraq. But it was an unprecedented attack from Iraq. Iraq's claiming that they didn't have anything to do with the attack, but it came from Hamas. Allegedly, it came from Hamas, and Iraq supports Hamas. So we don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to see some retaliation from America on these soldiers' behalf as soon as he figures out what he's going to do. That being said, I hate to tie one attack to another, but in Cincinnati alone, the police released a video of a violent attack in downtown Cincinnati on Monday, where a group of teens jumped a man. And, you just kind of like, what's going on? This is the second group attack that this has occurred. And that possibly it could be the same teens who did that first attack, then do this attack. I had a conversation today with someone that, this group mentality and attacking people is, it's kind of a shame when it happens with teens. But this is not the first time this has happened in Cincinnati. Remember back in the 90s during the music festival in Fountain Square?
Oh, yeah, those were the days.
And remember the group attacks that occurred during that time?
I do vaguely remember that, yeah.
It's not new. It has died down. And I think there was a lot of push to help the youth at that time. And there was a lot of effort in dealing with the youth, giving them programs, things like that. And then we slowly eroded again. So we're back where we were again in the 90s. We're going to have to see what happens because, violence doesn't work. We have a number of, community groups out there trying to work with teens to calm down this mentality. Our young people are going through a lot. They're angry. There's an underlying anger and other stuff going on with them. We don't know why, but, it's just, we just have to figure it out and give our kids more hope than, but stop the violence. So there's that. As the story updates, we'll update you some more on this. And hopefully, I just encourage your parents, aunties, uncles, friends, godmothers, godfathers, friends, even young people, don't do it. It's not worth getting involved and getting in a fight. The only thing I can say about this is they did not use a gun. I don't like violence whatsoever, but at least they did not use a gun. And, but our gun violence among our youth is up. And, it's even though it's more prominent here, but also in the suburbs, there have been evidence of shootings here and there, or at least attacks going on as well. I mean, so there is something going on with our young people where they have this underlying anger going on. And I don't think they know, I don't think they have been taught the tools to handle it, or they feel so much pressure that it explodes and they act out. I don't know. I'm not a teenager. My teenage days are over. So, but I mean, if you have a young person, talk to them. If they don't talk to you, at least do an activity with them and eventually they will talk to you.
Yeah.
So, but I encourage, if you got a young person in your life, talk to them. You can stop something just by listening to them. Don't question, don't criticize, just listen and say, okay, and keep going. That being said, the last thing that I want to mention for the chocolate news. How many people love riding the Cincinnati streetcar? I don't do it enough. I haven't ridden it in a while, but I love it.
I personally have never been on the streetcar, actually, to tell you the truth.
You should try it. I mean, I
do want to try it.
It's free. You know,
Yeah.
I would just say, get on it and ride the entire route because it'll take you down to the banks and back up to downtown. So, I mean, it's a great way to see downtown Cincinnati. And people get on and off. You see a lot of people standing for the streetcar at Finley Market, down at the banks, at Fountain Square. It's a very easy way to get around, especially when it's raining. But in the streetcar came about because it was a citizen-led effort for different transportation. When it first, I remember going on one of the first fact-finding missions when the streetcar, people started looking into the streetcar. And I remember I was on one of the trips that went out to Portland to look at what Portland did. That being said, there is an advocate group, there are advocates out there that are proposing 9 new routes for the Cincinnati streetcar. Since we're going to get a new bridge, why not add to it? Because, that bridge can only handle so much traffic. And we need to get cars off the road because, there's congestion on 75, there's congestion on 71, there's congestion on the side streets. So we need to find a way for people to travel throughout the region without adding more stuff to the air.
Right.
I can't think of the word right now.
Pollution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I could not come up with the word pollution, but anyway, so the 9 routes are being proposed. One of the routes proposed is to go to Clifton. One is to run it through Pendleton, Mount Auburn, and Corryville. That's the Clifton one. We could get you close to the University of Cincinnati. Another one is to run a loop between Clifton Heights, near the University of Cincinnati, and East Walnut Hills. Another one will run through Northern Kentucky and other various neighborhoods. You know what I would like for them to do?
What?
Extend the streetcar to the airport.
That'd be lovely. I would love
You
that.
know what? Just create a huge parking lot, park your car, make it long-term parking there, hop on the streetcar and ride to CVJ.
I would love that so much.
They have that in San Francisco. You know how much fun it was to ride to downtown San Francisco from the airport and not have to worry about a taxi fee. I mean, it was a little pricey, it was like $20 or so. But for $20, I went from the airport to downtown San Francisco and back again because I bought a return ticket. Not bad.
That sounds so nice. It really does.
I know. I mean, think about it. Your luggage, everything. All you have to do is get off the train and walk to your gate. Beauty of it. But anyway, so I think it's something that is going to be looked at. I think this city council is open to investment. If you look at what the streetcar did for OTR and all that extra investment that occurred because of the streetcar, I think people ride it during the games between the Reds and the Bengals. I almost said the Browns. Ooh, bad word. But I think before city council was opposed to expanding the streetcar, with a younger mayor and a younger city council, you have a fresh approach to investment in the city. And I think that's the reason why advocates see this as an opportunity to expand the streetcar. I think it's an opportunity to get workers from downtown out to the burbs and then from the burbs to downtown. And I think it's just another way to travel. And I think we should be open to it. Yes, it's going to be very expensive, but you know what? In the long run, it's worth it. We see how well the subway works in New York and in Chicago and in DC. People use it, or they drive to a spot and then they commute on the train. That says something. That means those cars are sitting there, but that means that pollution is not going in the air, is just staying. And I think it's something that we need to be open to and not poo-poo. So,
right.
And that is all the chocolate news that I have for today.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andria. And now we move on to our special guests, and I want to reintroduce Mr. Marvin Butts. How's it going, sir?
So far, so good. Pretty much like everything you guys was talking about.
Well, thank you for coming on today. We greatly appreciate it. And I just want to say, my father, who's also named John Reese, put me in contact with you. And I'm so glad because I was reading about you and just reading about the foundation that you run. And I'm actually most interested in that. How did you start this foundation? Like, what was well, actually, before the foundation, I want to learn a little bit more about you. Like, where did you grow up? Or where were you born? Where would you grow up? Tell me a
I
little
was
bit about yourself.
I was born in White Plains, Georgia, and I came to Ohio when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I was living in the West End. I lived in the West End for a long time. The Laura Homes projects down there. Then I moved up to 1510 Central Avenue, which well, it's gone now. It's FC.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I used to commute from there. I went to Taft High School, went to Porter, I went to Washburn, but I graduated from Hughes. I did my 11th and senior year at Hughes High School, where I met the magnificent John Reese, who actually was. I heard you talking earlier about the kids. What the kids really need is teachers like your dad was. He caught me. He caught me doing wrong one day, and he just got me all together. And he stayed on me up until I graduated, played ball, and that's what's missing. I had two teachers in my lifetime, one at Washburn and another one. Well, I had three actually: Washburn, Porter, and Hughes, and they gave me all the guidance that I needed to do what I do. So that's pretty much where it all came from. I was down in the projects where we didn't have the balance we have today with kids, but we did little things. We fought. We didn't shoot. We didn't stab. We didn't have bats. We had fists. But the foundation pretty much started. It was Tabatha Anderson's idea to do the foundation after I lost my mother and three of my sisters from cancer, and then I lost another three sisters. So the foundation is pretty much geared. Well, it started being geared towards cancer awareness. We do a health fair called Get It Check. So we will get people free health screenings and free cancer checks from prostate, breast cancer, ears. Colgate comes down from Chicago and do teeth cleaning. St. Elizabeth did a heart screening for the arteries. So it was a pretty big event that we did here in Pendleton. And we do a Christmas party for the kids. And that's been going on for about 30 years. The health fair, well, we had to stop in 2018. We didn't get to do it in 19 because of COVID. So we trying to pick that back up now once it levels out enough to do so.
Now, besides the foundation, you also own a car wash, correct?
Yeah, I actually started a detail shop because I have a transportation business. I started a limo service back in 1988, and I needed a resource to keep my limos clean. So that came Mr. Bubbles. And
Uh,
Mr. Bubbles was named, my mother used to make me take a bath in that pink soap. And that kind of got interesting. And I lost her before I got a chance to graduate from high school. That was one of the
mm,
hardest years for me to kind of complete school. She never
mm,
got to see me graduate. That was a little deep.
yeah. But also I want to focus on your philanthropy too, because I was reading an article in the Inquirer and how you paid the student fees for some of the students because they weren't receiving their diplomas on graduation day, and I admire that like very much, but it also like made me think like why should you punish students for that if they can't just because they can't pay the student fees? But like I said, but also like very noble of you. I really dig that.
Well, actually, it was 487 kids throughout public high school. And believe it or not, this is how that started. It was a friend of mine came to me and needed some money to pay a student fee for a young lady that went to Woodward High School. And that was in 2022. So I said, I have a foundation with a few dollars in it. I'll just pay the fees for it. Tell me who to make the check out to, and we'll take it to them. When we get there, we at Woodward High School. The friend who called me is a graduate from Taft, which is I still got love for. I'm a
Hmm.
graduate from Hughes, and the accountant for Woodward was a graduate from Withrow. So pictures was being taken, Facebook was going out there, and I said, wait a minute, this happened to me in 1977. I owe $35 in student fees. And I said, I think I've been out of school, what, about 40 years, since 1977 is when I graduated. And I said, I came back to the office tab. This is what's going on. What you think we should do? I just made a pledge to the guys that I was standing there with that this ain't fair. We're gonna raise some money and pay some fees for all the kids. And normally when I say something in vain, I follow through with it. So we raised about $5,000.
Wow.
And I was telling Tabatha, well, call the schools and see how much the fees are so we can disperse these funds. Well, when she got back with me, it was a phenomenal amount of money. I mean, kids owe as much as $90 to $560.
Wow.
So we raised the money, we went out live, and we paid the fees for every kid that needed their fees paid to graduate. Now, since that happened, I have been talking to Superintendent Arnetta Wright on how can we make this not happen again for 24. So there's some things we've been working on. So the state of Illinois is the only state that we know of that have abolished student fees. So if we get this off and we can waive the fees in Hamilton County, our next move is to try to do it statewide. So it'll be the state of Ohio. Kids don't have to pay fees. And if we're successful with doing that, we're going to try to go national.
Yeah, and I hope that does happen because I think that's ridiculous. It it,
Well,
it
see,
really
the
is.
hurtful thing is that my mother wasn't there. I didn't even have any family there, just my sister. And when Bill Meredith, who was the guy in charge of it at Hughes High School, he had a clipboard and he was going around asking all the students, if you don't have your feet, you'll be able to walk, but you won't get your diploma. It won't be in there. And my sister said, well, can he pay the fees? And it was $35, which brings me back to me paying the fees for the students that I'm thinking it's going to be an average of $60 or $70. Now, these kids' fees was phenomenal. And a lot of fees was not even explained to me clearly on how they acquire these fees. So it could be a number of things. My son ended up breaking a monitor at Withrow, and we had to pay that fee, but we knew he did it. But all the kids across the board, we was a little lost on that. And that's hurtful if you think about the moment you've been waiting for to get that certificate and then you don't get it. And ironically enough, that in 2023, I had somebody from Board of Education call me and they didn't want any money, but they said, you got to hear this story. We just had a lady come in and she needed her transcripts for a job and she still owed $300. And this young lady was 37 years old.
Oh my goodness.
So she had been out of school at least 15 years. So the whole fee thing is being re-looked at and reworked. So hopefully after I hear from Miss Wright, we might have good news. She didn't make no guarantee, she didn't make no promise, but she sounded confident that this might happen. But the big motivation out of that is for the 40 years I've been out of school, I have not had anybody even bring it to the table. And when I brought it to the table with her, she jumped right on it.
So glad to
So,
hear that.
and being the underdog of underdogs, I always rooted for the underdogs. And now I fight for them. And you mentioned earlier I was a small business, but one of the things that I fight for is what people don't mention, and that's the smaller businessman and woman. You know, Tabitha owns a furniture store, and she's got one employee, the guy who washes your car, the guy who cuts your hair, the guy who shines your shoes, the lady who got 3 employees that does your hair, your nails. When you take your tux to get pressed for an event you go to, the guy in the dry cleaners might have 2 or 3 employees. So I fight for the smaller businessman and woman.
No, that's good to hear. And it's very inspiring actually. I wanted to ask a question for Tabitha. Since you're the president of the foundation, what are some like the day-to-day things that you do for the foundation?
Now, the day to day for the Butts Family Foundation, one of the things that we're really committed to is the process of healing. And so, Marvin, for the Butts Family Foundation, founded Spirit of the Rose. So on Sundays, especially on Valentine's Day, one of the things that we do all year long is encourage people to go show love for their loved one lost because there's healing in that process. A lot of times, people don't realize that there is healing in certain things that other people would deem morbid. A lot of people, once they go to a funeral, don't ever return to the cemetery. But you love that person while they were living. Just take a rose. Just take a rose and just leave it. It's just a sign that that person might be gone, but they're not forgotten. Along those lines, we have banners of loved ones lost that we do and that we display during our events, not during our Christmas event, but all year round at our other events, like the Get It Checked Health Fair. So, most of it is just planning. Planning and organizing is the day to day. Marvin is one of the Real Men Wear Pink. So that is basically all year long fundraising for the American Cancer Society, making strides against breast cancer. So there are a lot of things that our foundation participates in, but there's also a whole lot that we have launched.
Gotcha. Well, your foundation certainly sounds amazing. If someone wanted to donate to your guys' foundation, how would they do so?
They could do so by going to the Butts Family Foundation.com. We do have a website, and there are links for the individual programs, or they could do that by calling the Butts Family Foundation at 513-369-0025. We're open Monday through Saturday.
Okay, that's awesome. And I don't know if you answered this before, but what's the upcoming event that you guys like? What are some upcoming events that you guys have coming up?
One of the biggest things that we're working on right now is the Get It Checked Health Fair, which is the first Saturday in June. So that we're gearing up for that. We have our senior field trip that we are also planning. Last year, we did a field trip for the seniors. We took them to the Freedom Center and took them to lunch. And believe it or not, they literally loved it. They had a very nice time. And we had some of the friends of those seniors asking when were we going to do it again because they wanted to participate. So just because people get older, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be loved on, doesn't mean that they don't want to be pampered. And just try to remember, some of the seniors in your community may not have family, may not have grandchildren. And what you find is they have so much love that they want to give, and it just gives them a platform. Our biggest event is the Jingle Bell Jam, which is Cincinnati's largest and longest running children's holiday party. We literally cater to this past year. It was 450 children. And each kid got a toy, each kid got a coat, hat, gloves, and just a whole lot of fun. And then we also have our Thanksgiving in the garage sale that we do every year, the second week of November. We close our business for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and host an indoor garage sale. And all the proceeds go to purchase Thanksgiving dinner certificates from the Kroger Company so that we can feed underserved, really needy families.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for describing some of the events. And your foundation sounds excellent. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And Mr. Butts, your whole life story just sounds it's so inspiring. And when when my dad first talked about you, I was very intrigued. So when I was able to give you a call and just the amount of love you have for my dad, I was just like, I have to talk to this man. It's like I have to get him on this podcast or write about him or something like that. So I'm so glad you were able to come on this little podcast and just tell your story.
John Reese Sr. actually was really, really strong and instrumental in pointing me in the right direction for me to be sitting here talking to you now. Because I was in high school, I lost my mother, I lost my dad, and I was one of them kids with no direction. And he took the time and guided me. I saw the light at the end of that tunnel, and I'll be ever in his debt for that. I made a speech in front of the Taft graduation class, and first one of the things I asked them, raise your hand if you got that one teacher, just that one teacher that's been there for you. And I told them to turn around, stand up, and give them a hand. And the whole graduation class stood up, turned around and looked at that teacher that they had, and they gave him a 2, 3 minute standing ovation. And that's because of the love that I have for John Reese.
Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you for coming on. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, folks. Well, that's it for today's show. I want to thank Andrea for coming on and giving us all the chocolate news. Thank you so much, Andrea.
You're welcome.
And remember, folks, you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And folks, 2024's Daddy Daughter Dinner Dance, the tickets are sold out. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I'm John Alexander Reese.
And I'm Andrea Carter.
And have a good day.